30 years ago, the world was silent for 100 days as brother rose against brother and sister rose against sister in Rwanda, in what has become known as the genocide against the Tutsis. Rwanda had neighbors. They said nothing, and they did nothing. The international community was alive and well. They said nothing and did nothing. There were ambassadors present in Kigali. They were eloquent in their silence for 100 days. And when the conscience of the world had been pricked after 100 days, when the count was done, it is estimated that nearly 1 million people were dead. The world was never the same again. Those who were observing the situation wrote the obituary of Rwanda, and it was thought that Rwanda would never rise again. Today we gather here to commemorate those who lost their lives, those who are mentally scarred, and we are reminding ourselves of man's capacity to visit humanity to fellow man. But we are also gathered here to remind ourselves of man's capacity to do good. It is a paradox that we are capable of such evil and also capable of good. So today, we remember the events of 30 years ago to remind us that conventions, that declarations, that treaties in and of themselves do not change man. Because in 1994, when the pogrom was taking place against the Tutsi in Rwanda, the Genocide Convention was alive and well. The world had met in 1948 and said that we needed a convention to ensure that there was no genocide. But even in the presence of that convention, we still visited pain against fellow man. We as human beings must never forget that eternal vigilance is critical, that we may preserve dignity amongst men. Nobody needs to be told of the pain that hatred occasions to man. We must remind ourselves that if we are not eternally vigilant, then we are likely to repeat the things that harm us. We are here to remind ourselves that many times what we learn from history is that we learn nothing from history. Because if it were the case that we learned something from history, what happened 30 years ago would not have happened. We can count many wars. We can count many genocides that have been perpetrated. We can count the number of wars that are going on even as we speak. The world is not at ease. But yet, we can never afford the luxury of giving up. We can never afford the luxury of despair. We cannot afford the luxury of hiding our heads in the sand like the ostrich does. We cannot afford the luxury of using our energies to perpetrate evil. We cannot afford the luxury of talking justice while we occasion injustice. We cannot afford the luxury of reminding ourselves that we must always strive to do that which is good and right. We cannot afford the luxury of doing nothing when we know that the perpetrators of evil are always in the business of planning the next evil. Because even as we sit here, there are those who are planning to visit evil. Even as we sit here, there are those whose conscience are seared and they do not care if they cause death or pain. So today we are gathered here to remind ourselves that we must never repeat what happened 30 years ago. We are sitting here to remind ourselves that it happened in Rwanda and it can happen anywhere. It is self-evident that man seldom learns. Look at Europe, see what is happening. Look at the Middle East, see what is happening. Look at Sudan, see what is happening. Look at Central African Republic, see what is happening. Look at Cameroon, see what is happening. Look at Eastern Congo, see what is happening. Yet Rwanda teaches us a lesson that even when we have been placed in the muck and mire of confusion, we can, like the phoenix before us, rise and begin to tell a different story. Never forgetting the pain that was visited upon us, but the story of forgiving those who visited pain upon us. It is in this regard that institutions such as the Gacaca, which told the world that even when we have been wronged, that even when we have been abused, that even when our kith and kin have been slaughtered, we can still embrace those who slaughtered us. We stand here from different generations, from different faiths, from different parts of the world, to remind ourselves that our diversity is to be celebrated, not to be abused. To remind ourselves that we may be of different races, that we may be geographically from different parts of the world, but our humanity and our red blood unites us. So whether you are from Europe, from the Americas, from Africa, from the Caribbean, let us use the occasion of the Kwibuka to remind ourselves that it behooves us as human beings to always do good, because it is good to do good. May God bless and guide us at all times. Be blessed.
I'm a king, yes, I'm a king. I'm a king.